welcome to Linear Rock.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'd rather be in Italy myself instead of on the phone, but you can't have anything. So, yeah.
Allora, lui vorrebbe essere qui con noi di presenza, ovviamente in questo periodo non si può, e quindi insomma ci accontentiamo di sentirci per telefono. So, virtually welcome to Milan, as we can say, and we are here, of course, to present your new album, which is coming out this week on Friday. And let's start talking about this, which is the news.
Well, yeah, I definitely are back because I always wanted to be a band, and that's why you can hear on the album, and every album actually, I don't play solos that last like 3 minutes or something. You know, I wanted to be a part of the song, and I want to present the band. Every band member, whether it's the incredible singer Ronnie Romero or a drummer Koen, you know, everybody has its spot in the band, and that's what I like most. I'm not really a ego type of having to prove myself as a guitar player all the time, you know.
So, Adrian, 2020 is the title of the new record, which will be released this week on Friday, 29th May. And 2020 is also a year that we will never forget.
No.
Is the title somehow inspired, you know, to the latest COVID events, or was it actually already planned, you know, like this to mark and celebrate this comeback?
Yeah, I already came up with the title last year.
Okay.
Nobody knew it was going to be a very strange, surrealistic year, and I just thought it was a great title for 2 reasons. One reason being that I like the way it looks. You know, I used to be a graphic designer and painter, all that stuff. I still am, but I like the 2020. It looks really cool. So that was one reason, and the other reason it is powerful. You know, It's not like some stupid number. It's 2020, you know. It sounds good, It looks good, but also it shows that it's a new Vandenberg and not like a best of album or you know. So when the album is called 2020, everybody will know. Oh, hey, you know, it's a new Vandenberg. It's not the old thing. So there's a couple of reasons, but I have to confess that my first motivation was that it just looks really cool, you know.
Okay. So, Adrian, does Vandenberg now represent anything different for you? You know, from 1981, the very first year when you founded the band, and can we consider, you know, Vandenberg's Moon Kings somehow an extension of this project, or it's totally a different thing and that project is cancelled for the moment?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting question because for me, everything I've always done is connected. You know, whether for me there's a connection between what we're doing now and what Vandenberg's Moon Kings did and what Whitesnake did and what early Vandenberg did. There's like a red thread for me that connects everything. And you can actually tell by on Vandenberg's Moon Kings' second album, there are a couple of songs like Tightrope and like Fire that could have been on this album in a heavier presentation, in a heavier execution. And for me, you know, the songs I write have always a connection with blues and rock and soul and heart and loud guitars, of course.
Yeah.
You know. But for me, I've been very spoiled with working with great singers, and that's the only way I can work actually, because I write the songs tailor-made to the singer that I'm working with, whether it was with David Coverdale and Whitesnake, or with Jan Hoving and Moon Kings, or now with the fantastic Ronnie Romero. And when Ronnie said that he wanted to be involved in Vandenberg, that's when I got a lot of inspiration to write the songs that ended up on this album, because any artist needs inspiration, you know, and sometimes when I kind of compare it with putting out an antenna on your head, and when
Yeah.
writing songs, I switch on the antenna and stuff comes in. That is like a mixture of the influences that I have had in my life, whether it was Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Rainbow, The Free, Bad Company, Van Halen, AC/DC, you know, all those great bands. It's like making a minestrone soup.
Yeah.
There's ingredients that end up in some kind of a balance, and the balance I look for is the one that works for me. It doesn't say it works for everybody, but it does work for me, and that's why you make an album. That's why you make a painting, or that's why a chef makes a great minestrone or a great lasagna or whatever, you know. It's your personal mix of all the ingredients that are there. And for me, I have to confess that with this band, with this lineup, and with this record, I got very close to, ever since I started making music when I was 14 or 15, I was always hoping to do something like this.
So, Adrian, Ronnie Romero is, you know, an extraordinary singer and extraordinary frontman, but is also a very, very busy one. He works, you know, with Rainbow and also Michael Schenker now. He worked with Corleone. He's got his own band. Can this become an obstacle some way? And how did you meet him and, you know, decided to hire him?
Well, 5 years ago, I read somewhere that Richie Blackmore wanted to do a couple of Rainbow shows. So I thought, I'm curious who's going to sing, you know, because Ronnie James Dio is one of my all-time favorite singers. And I thought it better be a good singer, because otherwise it's going to sound like shit, you know. So I checked on YouTube and I heard Ronnie for the first time, and I thought, man, the guy's amazing. So I didn't really think about it anymore until when this Vandenberg plan started to come up in my head, and I talked about it to my record company and to my manager. And I thought the only way why I would think about starting a new Vandenberg lineup is when I could put together a great lineup, like an amazing lineup with an amazing singer, amazing drummer, amazing bass. Because then it wouldn't be a nostalgic type of thing, you know. If it, I'm never a big fan of bands from a long time ago get together, they stand on stage and they play the songs like they used to do. So it's kind of boring. And so I thought it would be great to have like a really dynamic, in-your-face, kick-ass band, but then with a name that has a heritage. So when I approached Ronnie, and he was really, really enthusiastic, and he told me the reason why he started singing is when he heard David Coverdale and my record Starkers in Tokyo, the acoustic album. Yeah. That's why Ronnie started to sing. So that's why he was really enthusiastic that I approached him. And I know he does a lot of things, but Rainbow only does a couple of shows every 2 years or something. With Michael, he's one of the 3 or 4 singers, and he sings a couple of songs in a tour. No problem, you know. If you look in Los Angeles, like most well-known musicians in rock, they are in 3 or 4 bands together or something, because right now the business is a little weird.
Yeah.
And we just have to make sure that our agendas fit together, because right now we're planning a European tour that hopefully can take place in November, December, if the Corona thing is kind of solved. You know, if not,
of course,
yeah, then we're going to start in February. February or something. Yeah. We're going to play a lot. So I don't worry about it. And this is the band. You know, this is Koen, Randy, and Ronnie, and that tall blonde guy who tries to play guitar.
So Rudy Sarzo is on bass and Brian Tichy on drums on the record. But as you told us, and if I'm correct, they won't be part of the live band on tour. And of course, before the pandemic, you told us that you already planned a tour, which is postponed now. Will the set list actually be, wide-ranging your whole career, including maybe some Whitesnake songs? Did you already think about how it will be?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. The band, Koen Herfst and Randy van der Elzen, they play about 90% of the album. Rudy Sarzo and Brian Tichy only play on 2 songs.
Okay.
So what you hear on the album is the band that you're going to see live. And
all right.
We are making plans already, of course, like I said, for November, December for touring. And if that's not possible, then we're going to start in February. And I trust that by the time, it should be possible to tour.
Did you already, the set list is complete already, or you're going to work on it?
No, I'm thinking about it. It's definitely going to be, the fun thing is that Ronnie and me are both part of the Deep Purple family tree, so to speak. Ronnie has been with Blackmore for 5 or 6 years, and I've been with Whitesnake for 13 years. So we're definitely going to play a couple of Rainbow songs, a couple of Whitesnake songs, a couple of old Vandenberg songs, probably the harder songs of early Vandenberg, songs like This Is War and Wait and Fighting Against the World, those kind of songs.
Yeah.
And then probably the whole record, the whole Vandenberg 2020 record, because I wrote those songs with the live situation in mind, and that's, I think, how it sounds. It sounds like it's live. You don't hear a lot. You don't hear any that bullshit like lots of keyboards and 20 guitars and 30 monks background choir. It's what you hear is what you get.
A curiosity I have: the song "Burning Heart," which you took from the very first Vandenberg album. Was it Ronnie's idea actually to remake it? To have the new Ronnie Romero version?
No, actually, it was the record company wanted to put out a press release about 4 or 5 months ago, and my manager said, "Well, everybody and his grandma puts out a press release, and it would be a much stronger message if we can put some music with it." But we hadn't been in the studio yet, so. Then I suddenly remembered that for the second Moon Kings album, we recorded the bass and the guitar and the drums for Burning Heart to have a bonus track for Japan, because in Japan they always like to have an extra track. And so I suddenly remembered that. And when so all I had to do is fly to Madrid, where Ronnie lived at the time, and to record his vocals.
Okay.
And I flew back. So originally, it was not supposed to be on the album, and when the album was finished, my manager and record company said, "Well, why don't you want to put it on the album?" I said, "Well, I don't want it to be nostalgic and all that stuff, And then they said, "Well, think about it." So I thought about it, and I played Burning Heart in between the other songs, and it sounded really good because it doesn't sound old-fashioned or outdated.
Okay.
And the sound. It really fitted. So I was convinced that it should be on the album. And what made it extra nice is that it builds a symbolic bridge between early Vandenberg 1982 and Vandenberg 2020. It's a bridge, So that was symbolically very nice. And I thought, what?
As a guitarist, coming from the same land, which is Holland, as Eddie Van Halen, doesn't have to be, an easy thing. You also have a song entitled Light Up the Sky in the new album, which is not a Van Halen cover, but it's got the same title. And you and Eddie both have the surname which begins in Van, as a lot of, Dutch people. Let's say you are the Flying Dutchman blonde edition. See, I have a Van Halen t-shirt here. Okay. So was it actually some way tough, in the beginning, being a shredder as you are, but also a great composer as he is, and being, a guitarist in hard rock metal music, coming from Holland and having Eddie Van Halen's shadow, behind?
No, I never look at it. Eddie is. I know Eddie a little bit, and I went to his house a bunch of times when I was in the States, and we talked Dutch. When we're together. Eddie is one of the guys. There's so many great guitar players, and all of them inspire me. Whether it is Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, Brian May, Jeff Beck, Michael Schenker, Randy Rhoads, early Leslie West, Eric Clapton. There's a million, and from every player that plays with his heart and with his soul is an inspiration to me. And I never look at it as a competition type of thing,
Okay.
Because I think it was actually really cool that both Eddie and I come from Holland, because Holland is such a small country.
Yeah.
A few hundred years ago, we had a whole bunch of world famous painters, like Rembrandt, Frans Hals, and a whole bunch. And then, 60, 70 years ago, we had Karl Appel and Vincent van Gogh. So we are a very small country, but we have, every once in a while, we have who mean something, internationally. And Eddie Van Halen is definitely one. To me, Eddie is the guy after Jimi Hendrix who changed all the rules in the guitar playing. So I'm already honored that both our family names start with Van. He's a great guy and he's an amazing player, and I really hope he's gonna record more stuff, because he's been silent for quite a while, and his music is an inspiration, I think, to every rock player.
Adrian, you are very active on social media, and you are always very smart, intelligent, very ironic and funny. Is it a necessity? Nowadays we're all connected, like now, not through the internet, or actually you really like it to be there, and find things to post and be always original?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed writing. Writing words, playing with words, like you're playing with notes on your guitar, and I like to make jokes, and for me, it's a fun thing to do. When I get up in the morning, I make my espresso or my cappuccino, and then either I find like a funny picture that I get associations with, and sometimes I like to insult people a little bit, and then as a joke, and then people react to it, and you go crazy. How can you say that? So for me, that's very entertaining too. And at the same time, it's really nice to keep the people that like the music, to keep them up to date with what you're doing. I like the way that you don't have to depend on press releases and on record companies or on newspapers. If you want to let the people that like your music, if you want to let them know what you think about certain things, it's a nice thing to do. I have a hard time sometimes to not get into politics, because I do follow politics a lot. And what I find sometimes a little frustrating, that I should not say some things on the internet that I would like to say, because I think when music or art or any form of art get entwined too much with politics, because it should be out of there. I leave that up to other people. But it is not always easy. Things happening in the world that they go, oh no, and I want to say something about it.
I wanted to ask you, of Whitesnake guitarist before and after you joined, which is the one you feel closest to, and one in particular that maybe you would have liked, to join up in the same lineup with you?
It's kind of difficult. Steve Vai and I have stayed really good friends ever since we played together in Whitesnake. I thought we were an interesting team because our styles are so different. And Steve and I, we talked often about those times, and it could be interesting to maybe do another tour. I don't know. I don't think it will ever happen, but Steve is definitely the one where I had a lot of fun with, and also Warren DiMartini was also a guitar player that I really.
Sure.
And we played in Milan with Warren with the lineup.
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, great! Me too. But I think out of all the guitar players that we worked with in my period, in my 13 years, I think Steve Vai and Warren DiMartini were the ones that I felt most connected to.
Okay, as a curiosity to close the show tonight, we're going to see The Deeper the Love, which is one of those classic videos. And I was wondering, to introduce it, was the presence, of Steve Vai musically and of Tony Keaton, undisputed star of those videos, any heavy or too big for you guys, which were the musicians in those years?
No, not for me. I don't care. It's like I said before, I've always been in this for the music, and if somebody like Tony Catane wants to go do cartwheels across the motor hood of a Jaguar, I don't care. And with Steve Vai, it was very inspiring to me. Steve Vai in that period was very eager to prove himself as like a new guitar guy.
Yeah.
And when somebody wants to do that, I take a step back. I don't care because I do what I do,
All right.
And like I said, I'm in this for the music, and whatever makes somebody else happy, they should do it. I don't care,
And thank you very much for your time, Adrian. It's been a pleasure. And I hope to see you in Italy very, very soon after this pandemic.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm going to open up a nice bottle of wine and toast to everybody in Italy.
Grazie. Ciao.
Take care. Ciao.